Good. Let's check out this thing so that next time it will be easier. And we merged some pull requests last week. So what do we have? We have as the unpublished event and the unpublished task to workflows. So this is our new task on the workflow module, unpublished task and event. Extend query to support latest versions. This is for fields. So I think I talked about it last week. Now the latest version of a field or the value of the fields for the latest version, the draft versions of the content items will also be indexed in the tables, so we can use them in the queries. So now you can do queries from the draft values of a content item. If you want, for instance, to render some admin screens based on queries. Change sort order to sort to order by full weight and move all code to an obsolete method. So this is an update on the taxonomy terms on the order of the weight. It's in the dev branch. Because now the value is computed, so we don't need to compute it dynamically in memory. Reducing the change files to those already. What is that? A new member binding step. Yeah, steps, export steps for member bindings. In and out. Member bindings, okay, and that's done here. I didn't see anything from Benedek about releasing 1.10.3, so we'll hear from him once he's watching the meeting. We'll see. Orchard 2, Orchard core. So it's fetched. Same thing I will check out so that next time it's at the tip. Seven days, so Sipke is still working on workflow, Nick still working on GraphQL/JSON API. Jean-Thierry, however, have started new things. This branch is still active, LocalStorage CleanUp. This is to improve the live editing for templates and content items, to make it better, fix some issues, and make it less flashy sometimes on some of the screens. So that's still work going on, almost ready, but I have just one concern and I will talk with him about it. Sipke working on no, this one has been merged, and we'll see later. This branch has been merged, but he was working also on async calls for content handlers. Chris had many PRs merged. This one fixed invalid cast bug when using Razor to execute SQL. So this one was that JObject and content items can be written from a query. He fixed that. Remove deprecated GetTypeInfo. With the net standard, we don't need this thing anymore, so we can remove it. Add support for scope method provider. This is to allow scope method provider for scripting. If they are not singletons, they can now be injected. He explained the issue last week when he made a demo, so he made a PR to fix it. Preview notify errors, PR from Matthias Moreira. So this was, it's weird because I thought we had talked about it or maybe it was during the triage, to display your messages when you do live update, live preview, but your form has validation errors. The live preview will be blank and you will not know why. Now it's not blank, it's rendering the errors directly. Only the errors, but you can see the validation errors in the live preview. For instance, if you start a new page but you don't type a title, because the title is mandatory, the page will not be displayed. Here is branches, Silke merging things. If I filtered only on dev, just to have a good status, and after I look at the existing branches. No, this is not that. This is filter dev. No, that's not that. Okay, that's good. Going back up. So notify errors. Bootsrap Beta 3. So Antoine updated to the latest Bootstrap version. The next one should be an RC, I think. And there was no breaking change, just fixes. Add the ability to export theme. Then Chris played with export for recipes and added lots of steps that were missing. So the current themes now can be exported. The templates can be exported. The layers can be exported, and the queries. And by that, you bet that he's using templates, layers, and queries. Otherwise, he will not have exported them. Then fixing some issues. Don't render liquid when displaying the editor. So it's an optimization. He found something that was not necessary. He fixed it. Adding content helpers. This I did because the user was blocked on rendering content items from their alias. As a reminder, there is an alias part that is only logical name for a content item. For instance, an auto route is by default an alias because you can get a content item by its slug. But if you don't want a route, so a content item to be accessed from a URL, but you still want to give it a nice name, a logical name, then you can use the alias part. And that's what he was doing for a carousel. So he created a content type carousel and slides, and he gave a name like main carousel to his content item, and he wanted to be able to display from his layout, from his template or from his layout, the main carousel. And there was no helpers in Razor or in Liquid to do that. So now there are, and looking at the doc, well, let's look at the doc because we support that. Thank you, Antoine. Orchard core, read the docs. And I go on the dev branch and click on content. Antoine will tell me, you forgot to add it to the doc. Thank you, Antoine. So I forgot to add it to the doc. So we'll have to do it. Where is that? Orchardcore.contents.
It is not generated if it's not added to the content.
That's beautiful. Only assign a model to the liquid scope if there is a model available. There was a if, yeah, on the, this is an example. So on the template, if the model was null, and then it will fail. So now he fixed, he handled the fact that there is no model when you call for a view, and he also provided a not found liquid template for the blog theme to have a not found template page. And this example, so we use that because this thing doesn't have a model actually. When we call this thing, we don't pass a model for the not found template. That's why he found this issue. Then Kevin provided some refactoring on the logging and startup classes. So he removed lots of log code to include it in the main program by calling use log web, and also using the new web host default builder factory that is new to the ASP.NET 2.0. We never updated. So it's removing some code from all the startups, you see, for configuration management, and also made this extension to configure Nlog using the latest version, which he updated also. Okay. So that's good. James Hawkins, who apparently is a colleague of David and Mike, created his first PR, which is adding the permission provider for media, which was missing. DisplayType property to BagPartViewModel. So in case from a BagPart you need a DisplayType that is configured in the settings, so you will probably want to do that. If you're using Liquid, because Liquid is secure, not everything is exposed, and in this case this is not exposed, so it's just adding a property to the view model so that we can access the settings properties. Okay. This is a fix from Jean-Thierry that when using Nancy, some types were duplicated. It was filed by a contributor, and Jean-Thierry fixed it. And this one is a comment I added from the discussion we had previously, that we can set runtime version to 2.0.0, and the .NET Core host will actually load the runtime, the latest patch version, like 2.0.3 currently, that is available on the machine, even though we don't require it explicitly. But it will take the latest patch because they usually have security issues or security patches, so we need to take them. And we don't force to have 2.0.3 because maybe you don't have 2.0.3 and it will fail. So at that time, well, actually, it will take 2.0.4 if you have it, but we just say 2.0.0 and it will take the latest available one. So that's your responsibility to have an updated version of .NET Core, or run on Azure or some other host, which will be updated automatically.
Hello, Sebastian.
Hello, Daniel.
Hi. I just had a quick question on that. So if you specify 2.0.3 as your runtime, does that mean that it won't pick 2.0.4 if it's available?
I will assume it will pick 2.0.4 automatically.
All right.
But if you have 2.0.1 only, it will not work.
Correct, yeah.
I sent an email to the developer who made this feature to get the exact official behavior, because I could not find any documentation on that. It's just by asking a colleague, he said, yeah, you should, yeah. So I've sent an email. But the short fact is that there is, that's what they call roll forward, automatic roll forward. So if we say 2.0.0 and there is a 2.0.3 available, it will pick the 2.0.3. And this is an actual example because 2.0.3 has security fixes.
Is there any way that you can disable that roll forward?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know more. I don't know. We'll see when he answers the email. I can ask the question.
Okay.
And that's it for the updates. What else? Questions? Who has demos? I didn't ask the new.
Have you started on taxonomies?
Fuck you.
Easy.
What? I did this. I did the content helpers. You should be proud. It's nice, right? It's very useful. I won't say it's more useful than taxonomies, but yeah, soon. We'll see when. But thinking about it, and you're reminding me every week, so don't worry, I won't forget. Did you make any progress on GraphQL and JSON API? I didn't check actually. I should remove that. Let me see. Yes, because there are some other PRs going on, so let's look at the PRs. That's where
regarding that, I have a question, Sebastian. I think I'll soon have some time to get back and finish the work I did on BlobStorageProvider, you know?
Okay.
But I was just wondering, because I haven't been following along for the past couple of months, if there's been significant, do you think there's been significant shift underneath between the time that I created that PR like 2 months ago and now that I would have to, go back and start over? Or is
related to your PR?
Yeah, because I touched a lot of the file storage abstraction interfaces and kind of cleaned them up a bit and changed them.
So Jean-Thierry merged. Sorry?
I think that's fine. We haven't changed much around the storage providers, have we?
We are using new kind of storage, new kind of file providers, but not related to storage provider. We didn't touch anything.
Okay, so the media storage is relatively untouched.
Yes.
Okay, good.
If not completely untouched, then it should work as is. And yeah. The only thing might be configuration, because config now has changed, but I asked Kevin, he said nothing is broken from that point of view from modules.
Oh, actually, that's something that I changed in my PR too, because the, you know, I showed it to you that we were missing an overload that was providing the host configuration object to the modules. And is that what you're talking about?
Yes, I asked that explicitly to Kevin and he said it was working.
Ah, okay.
And then I asked the question about, I don't remember, maybe Nick, you remember, maybe you know, we don't. Do we support prefixed environment variable and configuration for tenants?
I don't remember. Maybe.
This is something we need. So Daniel, if you have time and you want to work on that, that would be super useful to be able to update configuration values. So right now the configuration is built from file, from environment variables, and it needs to be done also per tenant. So we can have global values cross tenants, but also you can define the value of a configuration setting for a specific tenant.
Right, so I think we talked about that when I started the PR.
Probably.
And it wasn't in place then. So if nothing's been changed, I guess it's not there.
Yeah.
So.
If it's there,
Do we
want
want it done the same way as before, but you prefix by tenant colon?
Yeah,
or?
this I'm totally fine. Yes, that works. It's super easy, and then document it. Even if it's a
story needs work anyway, doesn't it?
But we'll see. If we have that, I mean, solved.
Does that include the configuration stuff around the shell settings?
The shell settings are per tenant anyway, aren't they?
Yes, but shell setting, no, you can't. You don't configure them. They are defined by the host. And then you have the admin to change them. So it's a runtime thing that you can change and or generate it as startup. You don't change it by. It's not really configuration. It's configuration, but it's not the same configuration as a configuration object.
Yeah, it's more like state almost, tenant state.
Yeah, tenant state, something like that. Yeah, tenant settings, but that's why you call settings maybe. And let's call it settings, and there is configuration. Yeah, and this is another point actually, Nick, to be able to also define maybe tenant settings using environment variables. Today it's already
you can do that already.
Probably because you did it, yeah. That's why also I mentioned you, because I don't know, I don't remember.
I did a PR for it, and I think we finished the PR, but yeah, it's definitely done.
Okay, so documentation, because if nobody knows, at least we need some very small documentation to say that it's done and how you can do it. That should be easy to do. Yeah, okay, so documentation, good. What else? I was about to go back there. So Sipke working on workflows, lots of changes. What is he doing? Refactoring. Yeah, I see something. This adding is not here, right? Is here. Sipke is here. Adding liquid support for email activity. That sounds awesome, but at the same time there is a PR for emails that hasn't been merged. How do you do that? Huh. Maybe you didn't know about that. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. You are sending the email by yourself. Sipke, I don't know if you're trying to talk, but or maybe you're not trying to.
Guys, can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Oh, okay. I was on mute. No, I'm aware of the module, but it's not part of the dev branch yet. And this the main well, the primary thing I did here was just implement the email task, and sending email itself is very straightforward. As you can see, it's just queuing up an SMT client.
That's fine. Just to restate, I wrote it yesterday in the issue of, or in the PR of the email module. The idea of the email module it's almost done. It's just missing one thing. I can't remember what.
And once that's done and it's merged in, then I think this
Yeah, you can use it.
tasks should be part of that module.
And you can also use their service. So the email module is providing two things: a service, an abstraction. It's not like ISMTP client, because there is an ISMTP client. It's an ISMTP service that sends emails, an implementation which is doing exactly what you did here, okay, using the SMTP client. But it's an abstraction on the SMTP so that later, for instance, you can use a different way to send emails, like using SendGrid or whatever. And also a way if we want to implement a jobs queue based email, so that every time we will send an email, it will not be sent directly, but go through an email queue or a jobs queue and a task. Okay, this is why we want to abstract it. And the second is admin screens to be able to customize these SMTP settings. That's why we make an email module. Okay, just to restate why we do that. So that's good. Progress on workflows. That looks cool. And you fixed the issue you had last week with the database connection, which was an async call, which was missing an await.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's good. This has been merged. This is Nick working on JSON API. Docs, deploy docs to Azure. So are you about to make a PR, or, Antoine?
I tested it on a branch.
Okay. And you tried it directly on Kudu, this branch?
On Azure, yes.
Yeah, good. It worked.
Yes.
Is this the one you're using on our website now?
Yes. I sent you an email about it.
When?
This afternoon.
Oh, well, that's weird. Let me check. I didn't get anything. That's weird. So it's on.
Let me paste the link. docs.azurewebsite.net, and I also configured the DNS. And it's
Okay. So that's the dev branch. What branch is that?
That's the docs branch for the moment, and then
Which is based on what? On dev?
Yes.
Probably. Okay. So I assume that because. Oh no, same thing. So it's not generated if it's not in the talk. Same issue.
Yes.
Okay. That looks good. That's good. So we know we can work on making it official. That's good. Do you have anything more to do on that branch?
We have to choose which Azure subscription we use.
That's okay.
Which DNS we create.
Okay. If not.
And a bit of configuration to enable Python and select the correct branches.
Yes. So there is nothing to do on the branch per se. I can just try to deploy it now and it will work.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Maybe that's weird because if you use the source and you deploy on Azure, it will deploy the docs. Maybe it's a bit weird.
What?
The fact that I added this deployment command.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean.
Merge on dev and master.
But can't, yeah. So, well, we could put it on master for sure, because dev will have it also. And then we can do two websites on Azure websites, one using the master branch and one using the dev branch. They will share the same deployment file. Okay. Then maybe there is a way actually on Azure to specify which script to use, and then have this script on the docs folder instead of the main one. Maybe there's a way. I will look into that, and they have good documentation, so it should be explained. Yeah, let's see.
Deploy docs.cmd.
What we can do also. Oh, you call it deploy docs.cmd.
Yes.
So it works.
And I specified in the .deployment file that I wanted to execute the deploy docs.cmd file.
Yeah, but that doesn't solve the issue. That if we have a .deploy file, well, it won't use it. So maybe we can just, another solution is that have the deploy.cmd be actually a switch to check if it's currently for the docs. If there is an environment variable that says it's documentation, then we know we have to build documentation. Otherwise, we build.
Maybe, yes.
So what we can do there is that the deployment, you don't call it deploy docs, you will call it deploy switch. We have a deploy docs, but the deploy switch will check if the environment variable is set. If it's set, it will call deploy docs. Otherwise, call deploy.cmd.
Okay.
And this way will be compatible with everything. And we can put it on master, so we can do a PR for master. Should we do a PR for master? It will trigger a new build. Yeah, we can do a PR for master. I will disable the build on master, then we merge to master, so that will work. And then I will re-enable the build, and GitHub will generate for master and dev. Yeah, so do a PR for master. That will work. Or to dev if you want first, if you want to see how it works. I don't care. Good. Thank you. So this is Jean-Pierre working on various stuff. Chris is all done with his things. Sipke working on workflow. What's new, Sipke, on workflows?
A bunch of stuff. Let me see. I have a Trello list here. So workflow, running workflow correlation against content items, it's done. So you can now also resume a workflow instance when an event is triggered for a particular content item. I applied the chains where we now also have support for, well, they are still called global method providers, but now they are associated with a scripting scope. So that you don't pollute the global list. I have a bunch of HTTP activities. So I further refined what I showed the other day. So now it's a bit better and more separate. The email activity, what else? Currently working on the on the ability to debug workflow instances so that you can see which ones are running, and then you can go into that workflow and then see where it's at.
Good.
So I started working on that, and yeah.
Great.
Primarily refinements, and I have a bunch of other things that I want to add before I merge it back in, but you've seen the bulk of it. So it's just going to be a little bit more improved. And one major thing, or actually two things that I would like to improve is the activity browser, so that you can filter and that it's grouped. That's an important one. And then also activities currently have fields that can be expressions or scripts, but I would like to talk to you about, maybe you have an idea, because sometimes it's just not convenient to have to provide a script. For example, for the email activity task, ideally you can either provide some expression so that you can dynamically evaluate the value for a subject or the recipients list, for example. Right now you always have to use the JavaScript syntax, so if you want to provide a list of recipients, it always needs to be an
if you just want
array.
A value, you need to use the liquid manager because it's like tokens.
Yeah, so for the body, that's easy. That's liquid. That's not JavaScript. But what about individual fields such as subject and the recipients list?
Same thing.
So you suggest that should be done using liquid instead of JavaScript?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
You can just use the script just for specifying scripts. And if it's a condition, like look at the layers. The layers is using just a
I looked
liquid.
at that and I applied that. Is layers using liquid as well? I thought
Yeah.
it was using JavaScript.
Oh, maybe.
I
Yeah,
think
probably.
it's using. Yeah, I looked at it. It's it's actually hard coded to use the JavaScript.
Because it's a Boolean expression. Yeah, it's actually done in JavaScript. Correct.
Yeah. No, but that's actually a very good idea for things like subject and well, I'm not sure about recipients. Well, maybe yes. Why not? It just needs to be comma separated, and then each individual entry or item in the list could be either a liquid filter thing or it could be a literal value.
Yep.
Huh, that's interesting.
And you have
Yeah,
access to
so-
content item and everything, and that's good.
Yeah, precies. All right, so yeah, we're getting close to initial merge or pull
Great.
requests.
Great, thank you very much. We just missed taxonomy. Who will work on taxonomy? Nick, who wants to work on taxonomy? You want to work on taxonomy, Nick?
Maybe, I don't know. Once I'm finished with GraphQL stuff,
Finished GraphQL.
yeah,
Take care of taxonomy.
4 months.
Let's update the roadmap. Roadmap. That's not the roadmap I was expecting. Wiki. Edit, because all the dates are wrong.
I think what I'm going to do is probably write some documentation for this stuff now, and then get it merged in, and then if bugs come out of it, then we'll fix them as we go. Yeah.
Okay. Daniel, if you want to work on output caching, we could use an output caching module actually. The response caching module is kind of used less. It's not a priority because it's super fast, but
Yeah, but it's too RFC compliant.
too RFC compliant, correct. It works for everything and not just output. And there is no gating /
And it
doorman.
always respects the client's wish to forego the cache.
So there are ways to maybe reuse what they did to make it work better for output caching, or techniques that they use to, I don't know, reuse their code to make it less RFC compliant. Or look at what Mads Christensen has done. He's done a middleware to do that.
Yeah, actually, I looked at that a while back. It's interesting.
There could be new features, but yeah.
I'll finish up blob storage first, and then maybe get moving on that.
Okay, what do we have since then? No, this is pretty accurate actually. I haven't started taxonomies. This, nobody's working on that.
What was updated recipes? What do we need to do for those?
I think that's what I was about to. That's it. Makes more sense. Like templates and.
You know, we talked about something else too, Sebastian, and I'm not sure if it's on the roadmap or not, but we discussed CDN support at some point.
Yes. What were we missing?
Yeah, so
Public URL, public CDN URL. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
A configuration, so we can generate a custom URL instead of a local one.
Yeah, and also having that integrate with the media processing. Yeah.
Yes, that should be. Yeah, let me that. It's a subtype. It's not error, but backlog. Okay.
Can you also add a JSON API to the partial or fully implemented section? Yeah, cheers.
Let's bump by 2 months. March, April, May. Okay. some things might be bumped to the next schedule. That's fine. Save pages. But we are good otherwise. Cool. Something interesting for performance is that did I talk about it during the triage or last week, Nick? Gint performance.
Yes, you did. You spoke about it, triage.
Triage. So Nick asked me about how to make things faster with widgets. What was it? Was it that?
So it was the widget filter. When it does the layer matching. Yep.
So the widget, yeah. So, and George, I think a year ago, mentioned that also, that the main performance bottleneck they have on the site was for widgets, because they have lots of widgets and every widget needs to evaluate a rule, which is currently done in Orchard 1 using a custom implementation. In Orchard Core, we are using Gint in JavaScript. And there is not much to do but compile the rules directly in C# in .NET using Roslyn or whatever, so to make it faster. But I understand it's a bottleneck. In Orchard Core, it's not that much bottleneck. When I did the perf benchmark, it was a hit for sure, but it's a feature. If you want to use it, it has a cost. If you don't want to use widgets, don't use widget. And then, but I don't know how you will do that without it. Maybe in your layout you can add the rules, but it's not as manageable as a widget layer. So some good thing is that some guy decided to work on the perf for Gint. This guy, Marco Lama, I think that's his name. Yes, Marco Lama. He made like 10 PRs. Well, 10. It's actually more than that. Look at that one. All these PRs. You see, that's great. Wow, that's more like 20. It's more like 20 PRs to improve memory allocations, improve performance, refactor things, like crazy things. I'm sure it's like twice faster than it used to be in terms of speed and bottleneck for memory allocation. So we'll see how it goes. I haven't published this version yet, but there are lots of perf improvements on that.
We're not even on the latest version of Gint. We're quite far behind.
But that's
that issue upgrading. Did you try before?
The what? To upgrade what?
I tried upgrading Orchard Core to use the latest version of Gint a while ago.
It should work as is. There is no breaking change.
It wasn't. There was a problem trying to compile it.
We'll see. But I'm sure there should not be any. Even this one is not breaking changes, and it's a 3.0 beta, but that should just it should just be faster. So we'll see. I will try to. Or if someone wants to try just to update Gint, and this version is not really is only on migrate right now, but I could try to see the impact on the widgets with a few rules and see how it's impacting the RPS, request per second, and also even with the current recipes that we have that also have widgets already. We'll see. It should be super simple, Nick. I don't see why it will not work. Just ping me.
When I upgraded the NuGet package and compiled it, it just would not compile.
Interesting.
It just kept saying something that there was a library that Gint used that wasn't compatible or something like that. It was really weird.
The only thing that is using is that, and I don't know why it will fail, because same thing is targeting the .NET Core, so
I don't know.
That's standard 1.3, you see, so that should not be an issue.
I don't know. Just upgrade it on a local branch, and just compile it.
Should I do it before or after I do taxonomies?
Do it before.
Okay, I'll try. Good.
Do it this afternoon.
Questions? Topics? No demos, topics, that, roadmap, workflows we talked about. Almost done.
Static site generator. So you were looking at YAM, right?
Mm-hmm.
So YAM's not .NET Core compliant yet, but the guy is working on it.
Yep.
He wants to know.
Dave Click. Oh, you contacted him?
Yeah, man, of course.
Okay.
Well, I wrote on the issue. He
Click.
likes the Orchard Core project and wants to know what APIs we're interested in, and he'll be happy to help us wherever he can. That's the guy.
I'm not sure we need anything more than is already implemented, because there's
no doubt. No doubt. I'm sure it's a straightforward implementation. It's just he just wrote on the thing saying he'd be happy to help if he as he likes our project, so it's cool.
Mm-hmm. Good. The only issue I will see right now is that it's based on Razor. I'm wondering if we should support Liquid for static site generators.
I'm pretty sure he had Liquid.
Or you think we can plug? You can plug custom view engines. Maybe we can plug custom view engines.
No, he created a so you can change your templating engine, I think. Yeah. Still leaning towards .liquid given longer history, but there's now also Fluid. That's on one of the issues, issue 10. I'll paste it in. There you go.
Thank you. It's cool that he mentions Fluid, because we made it for Orchard.
That's why. That's probably why. Funny enough, I think. There you go. Someone's actually done it, but he's using .liquid.
Yeah, that's not very important in this case, because we made Fluid just mostly for performance reasons, because we generate it the server side all the time, so it has to be fast. .liquid is not fast. It's using regular expressions. In his case, it doesn't matter, because it's just a one-time rendering of all the pages, so it doesn't really care. So I'm fine with that, totally fine with that. But yeah, if we can switch things, that's awesome.
But I mean, someone's already done a PR as well, so yeah, we can take a look at that.
Look at that, it's so fast. I made a benchmark. Look at that. Well, too much documentation. The blue, smaller is better, okay? Time to render a template. A big template, 1 kilobyte, 8 kilobyte, simple output tag. See, it's much faster. Use Fluid, and it does more things. Pull request. Cool. Yeah, that's cool. Then that will work. Then and have an API. So yeah. So yes, the idea is that we can generate a static site from Orchard itself. So we could provide templates as content or as files, I don't know. And then using a task or a button, an export button, say export to a YAM, a static generator task, and then it will generate a site. And then we could also use the other export task to send it to a FTP, to a GitHub account, to anything, to a static file, to a zip file, and just download it and do what we want. And then we could generate a static site from the Orchard admin. And then you will not need a front end for Orchard. You will just use the admin to manage the content and edit the templates, and then just render the static site. There will be some. Yep.
So you just send up a bunch of content to YAM, and YAM will push it up to GitHub for you.
Exactly. No. Oh, it does it too. So maybe we can also use YAM to do that, or not. Yeah. Or we can if we. Yeah. I don't care. Yeah. Another technique, I mentioned it to Antoine many times. Another technique I would like to see someone use and try, I've never had the time to do that, would be to create a project like we do for a theme, but instead of trying to override the shapes for everything we make, just create Razor pages to make your own handlers Like you want a home page, well, don't use our home page, or don't set the checkbox on the content item for the home page. Just create a homepage.cs.html that is linked to the root of your site, and this will handle the home page and decide what you want to show. If you want to show some content items or a custom query, use the helpers to do the query and render the HTML right in. So you don't use shape. You just use Orchard as a content provider, and using all the tricks like queries, Lucene, or content alias to reference what you want to display at some places. And you won't need widgets, you won't need shapes. It's much more like standard website development, but you can still use the admin and all the dynamic type definition that we support, and the queries and search engine and all the things you can imagine, and workflows. But the rendering is done by you, by your Razor files. So it will be super fast because you are not using the shapes layer. Yeah, that might be a good idea to see how it goes. If you want a blog, you can still create a blog and blog post in the admin, but then you will have your own page that renders the blog and the blog post as you want. You just have to call the APIs to load the blog post and the blog. Even using GraphQL if you want locally to grab some content. So that would be also nice to see. I'd like someone to try to do a website like this, to have just the admin manage the content and the rendering being done by your custom controllers / Razor pages. I'm sure Razor pages will be much more adapted for that than controllers, but that would be good to see. Maybe David and Mike could or thought about it or didn't think about it, and maybe they want to change everything to do that. They do websites, so they should tell us. Does it make sense? Was I clear?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good, that's it. Other questions? Good, so lots of PR last week, lots of activity also on Gitter. That's very encouraging. Please go on. David, Mike, when is the new website done in Orchard Core?
The website is done, Sebastian.
But there's always a next website.
Oh, the next website. Coming up soon.
So you are working on it?
Yep. It'll be
Good.
an internal one, though.
Orchard Core?
Yep.
Okay. So you will be there next week so we can ask you questions?
Sure will.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.